KTN News. Well, in studio for this conversation, I have a very able panel, and to my immediate left, political analyst Peter Amunga. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We also have George Kimiti, who is running independently for the Kajiado East parliamentary seat. Thank you for joining us. Ruben Ndolo, running independently for the Makadara parliamentary seat. And last but not least, lawyer Nelson Harvey, joining us every Saturday here on Weekend Express. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. So let's begin with taking a look at what's making headlines on the dailies this morning. So on the Saturday Standard's front page, teachers and police get a pay boom, and they seem to be smiling all the way to the bank. That's a report on pages 2 and 19 of the paper, but we will get to that. Also on the front page of the paper, Raila's fresh poll rigging claims cause a storm. And that's a report that continues on page 4 and 5 of the paper. So yesterday we had NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga reveal a particular elaborate plan, allegedly by the KDF, to rig these particular elections. Later in the day, we had KDF come and own up to that particular document, but say it was taken out of context. You know, it's allegations that we've had for a while from the opposition side. Amunga, your thoughts on these claims?
Yes, of course, as we gear up, as we near the election date, we expect those kind of allegations, kind of stories. It's good that the KDF owned up and said that true, it's part of what they have a plan to keep our borders safe. And the truth is that the Kenya Army, or the military for that matter, is a professional body. It is respected in the world. The international community respects our military. And so anytime we have such an issue like the forthcoming election, we expect our military to be on alert. This is the time when an enemy can try to infiltrate into our borders, into our country, because we are right now very vulnerable. When you read the social media, when you read whatever people are commenting and writing, this is a sensitive moment. And I expect our military to be up to the task, to prepare, to be there, and to be ready for anything that can come up. And let me just say this also. In the year 2007, 2008, when everything was going wrong, and our people were being, the hostilities were all over, everybody started asking, where is our military? Where is the military to come in? And so the military at such a moment has to be part and parcel of it. It's a professional group. They know what they're doing. They know their brief. And we expect them to be on high alert. Right. And of course, George, the question, I mean, among most critics has been, why have we not seen such a preparation with the security forces in a previous election? Is it something that should be raising temperatures and tensions ahead of the election, really?
One thing that is very clear is that every other time we have elections, the country thinks about peace. And it is one thing that every time we are going through an everything a man is going through is evolving everything, every time. So we can agree that systems are being brought, new subsystems are brought into the big supra system. In IBC, we have seen changes, and possibly this is a new phenomenon we are yet to see. Possibly briefings from IBC will tell us. Right. Chebukati is new, and we expect him exactly to tell us what is this that is coming this time and why now. Thank you.
I don't know your thoughts on this, Ndolo. It's been quite a long, a long trip with the back and forth with the security forces, allegations by the opposition, and of course, the security ministry, the interior ministry says they're only doing this to secure the general election. Is it in order to see such claims coming out of the opposition leader?
Well, allegations, or false or true, all the Kenyans want right now is fair and proper elections. However, you see, I have not gone through the document which from the military.
Right.
I would like to see it, and maybe the media should highlight it and people to go through on what is happening. It's a very serious allegation to me, very serious. And if we as Kenyans want really to, this country is sweet. I mean, there's no need for we going for elections and then you see people are coming out with anger. You saw what happened when they were having that press conference, the NASA team. you see how the anger was there. I mean, everybody was tense in that room. And when you saw later on, when I saw the news, when the president was talking where he was, that also I was shocked. I mean, you know, they call themselves brothers and all the time, and Ndugu, my brother. But yesterday when I saw the president calling Yule Mzee, you know, that also, it divides, it gives more tension. Mm-hmm. So I think if there is such a thing going on, we Kenyans, we have to make sure that we are not going to allow such a thing to happen. I mean, we are not going to agree.
Some of these claims that are being given by the opposition leader is that soldiers, apparently during the election, will be given closed signal frequency jammers, electric shock flexible batons, stun guns, power saws, in some instances, according to NASA principles, to cut off power supply in some particular regions. And these are serious claims coming just 9 days to the elections. And of course, the fact that the opposition has quite a large following, and so this is a perception that has already been created among that particular following. Wakili Harvey, where do we get out of this quagmire?
There is a disturbing trend in the profound ignorance of response on the part of whoever is responding to the claims made by Raila, because the role of the military is quite clearly set out in the Constitution. It's limited to the defense of the country, to protect the country from outside attack. The only way in which the military can be deployed locally is for emergency purposes. And this also has to be done with the approval of the National Assembly. Now, to the extent that the military has not denied the principal aspect of this claim, it is very worrisome that such a scenario could have happened within a few days to the election. Which lends credence to the claim that, look, there may be a possibility of interference with this electoral process. And it must be understood, an election need not only be conducted in a peaceful atmosphere, it needs to be free and fair. Now, if the military may be used to instill fear amongst the electorate, there is a possibility that the turnout will not be as expected. There is a possibility that the facilities intended to enable the effective conduct and transmission of election results are not in place. Look at a case of Angola. The European Union observer mission said they will not participate in that election because the circumstances in which the election is going to be undertaken does not give credence as to whether there will be a good election. There is a possibility we may be going towards that direction.
I don't know. I need to say this. Even those kind of allegations that the opposition keeps making keep leaving some of us Kenyan citizens very worried, because the question is this: why, by using words like power source will be used, cutting off power, you're already instilling fear, and that leaves the question: is the opposition ready for this election? Are our politicians really ready for this election? And why must you every time look for the devil? You know, always mention about the devil, cause fear, be prophets of doom. There'll be this, there'll be that. When will we start as Kenyans, start looking at things positively, expecting the best, talking like people who have been, to a church or to a mosque, people who believe in God? Why must we every time look for the devil behind the door, look for shadows, fight shadow box, and insult even professional bodies like the military? I tend to think our politicians, my two Mheshimiwas who are here today, kindly start respecting our military. Stop speaking words that can cause anxiety. And as you put it very clearly, and the newspapers are putting it very clearly, those statements by Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga cause anxiety. Everybody's just wondering, surely, are we safe? Is everything good? And that's not how to run a country.
All right. And of course, it's questions that have been raised for a while. Do you think, Wakili, in your view, how would you say this will affect voter turnout ahead of the elections? Because as it is, where people who are preparing to leave their respective homes, seeking safety ahead of the elections?
Of course, it will affect voter turnout because people do not want to be caught in a desperate situation. And this is a reality. It's not a matter that may be belittled in the manner in which some of those without better knowledge of how things are done are handling it. I think the tranquility in an electoral process is paramount. The fairness, the credibility, and the fact that there is no outside interference, that cannot be ignored. These are not issues that you can leave in the realm of the unknown, because it's an empirical exercise that has to be conducted in an atmosphere that can be verified, that can be accountable to all. And to a large extent, it must be admitted that the manner in which the IEBC is conducting the entire process leaves a lot to be desired. Where is the fidelity in this exercise? And it's not just a matter of noise. Raila commands a big chunk of the electoral following in Kenya. So what he says must be taken into account. And time without number, most of what he has put forth has been based on credible evidence. We cannot just ignore what is put forth yesterday. All right.
And just drawing from that point, I'm sure Amunga has a rebuttal to
Of course.
like he says,
he can't get away with it.
There seems to be an air of, a lot of people trusting the credibility, of what NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga says. And one of those claims was that there still continues to be a plan to isolate NASA's strongholds during the election and use the immunity to deliver victory to Jubilee. Now, let's also consider the fact that KDF has come up and owned up to this document, but they say it's just been quoted out of context per se. Amunga.
True. The army has a role. This is our Kenyan army. They use our taxes. They have a role to ensure that our borders are safe. They have a role to ensure that these things go peacefully. This kind of role we can't assume. And the army or the military cannot just sit back and watch as things go wrong. As I put it, in 2007, 2008, everybody asked, where is the army? And we all know the role that the military played during that time. The Malaba-Busia Road was cleared. Just a few moments ago, we've seen the clip where the Ugandan parliament was discussing that if Kenya goes into turmoil, they will not have fuel and other supplies. Now, that borders on security. That means the international community, our neighbors are worried. The statements that Hon Raila Amolo Odinga is making every now and then, going to court, claiming ABCD, all these claims are putting the country on the edge. And if I was the president, I will not be comfortable. If I was in the army, for example, and even just being a normal citizen, I'm just a normal taxpayer, every time I get a newspaper like this one, and the headlines are just doom, 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 rigging, what have you, whatever, you make us lose hope. When will a politician, Mheshimiwa Ndolo, when will people start preaching positivity, make us be positive in life, make us believe that there's a better future and a better tomorrow? Why are you guys always looking for the devil in this nation? I think the politicians, and especially those who are in opposition, I want to say shame on you. Start giving this country hope.
All right. It was very strong feelings there. 9 days to the elections, and I see a lot of election preparedness reports on the paper this morning. On page 5 there, Okot reads mischief in printing deal. So this is Third Way Alliance Kenya presidential candidate Okuru Okot was accused the IEBC of of printing the papers in secret, and this is with the Al Ghurair in Dubai. Now I understand that when the decision was made by the court for the papers to be printed in Dubai, the different presidential candidates each selected a team of agents that would be sent to Dubai to witness the printing of these papers. But he is now accusing the IEBC of doing this in secret, and he says that he actually visited the Al Ghurair press printing in Dubai to review the progress, and he says that by the time the observers reached there, work was almost complete. So, he says there was no agent there to supervise any of the printing, no agent from any of the other presidential candidates. Mheshimiwa Ndolo, this is something that, of course, was very contentious. The court ruled very fast in this particular decision. But do you think there needs to be more transparency in the printing of these presidential papers?
Well, the intelligence before the printing of the papers, I think they had already information about what was going on. And our brother here, Ekuro?
Yes, Ekuro Okot.
Okot, I think what he could have done before, or when he went there, he could have come out with proper information on what was going on. The first team which went there came with a positive, agreement on the printing of the documents. But now, when he went on the second one, when he issued that statement yesterday, I was also not clear on why he said that. Although, what I said before, the intelligence of the country did not give us proper information on what was going on in the printing press. That's why, to me, we are also in a dilemma on what we are going to go on this election. It's very difficult right now. Very difficult.
Transparency playing a very big role.
Yes.
George, your thoughts on the process of printing presidential ballot papers?
Yeah, okay. When it comes to the printing of the presidential papers, there was an agreement that all the people, all the presidents who were involved were invited, and they made that kind of conclusion to have their people visit Dubai for the same. And I think we need circumstantial evidence also to justify some claims, because most of these claims that are being made, and especially when it comes to an election for a presidential election, they really bring lots of issues. And even for us today as members of parliament, if we have issues with presidential elections, ballot papers having issues, have we been invited by the same body, IBC, to decide about our own papers too? Because we matter in that kind of election. So if we have given people being invited to discuss, then are we saying that we are short of having the info also as members of parliament who are going for the same, especially for us who are independent?
Right.
Because what happened during the nominations for ODM and Jubilee, we were never happy. And every time we get these kind of claims that we have issues at borders, we have issues within the country, we feel that once bitten, twice shy. So we have to investigate, and we have the IBC, Chebukati should come clear, give Kenyans right issues, and clarify such claims that are being made.
Right, and George brings up an important point, Amunga, because it's been a question we've been asking. You know, if there's contention with the presidential ballot papers, then what, where do we leave the other positions from all the way from governor to member of county assembly?
And that is the elephant in the room, because every time we talk about every time we hear about the presidential ballot papers, what about the governor? What about the senators and the woman rep and the Waheshimiwas who are here? Who is talking about them and who talks for them? The reason why the talk about the presidential ballot papers is another political chess game going on. It's just a way to keep us on the edge, to keep us. And I'm just receiving a message where I'm seated here, and I'm being reminded that even all the political players were invited by IEBC to go and visit the printing firm much earlier, to go and see what was happening there. These guys dilly-dallied, went to court, played those games. Now, finally, a few days to election, 9 days to election, a court now goes to Dubai and comes back with a claim that, several papers have already been printed. You see, he was already late. So now, whom does he want to blame? Whom does he want now to carry the cross for this? And so the issue here, dear Kenyans, is the political chess game going on. The main thing is prepare to vote on 8th of August.
Right.
And that is the whole call that we can give to Kenyans. But this kind of games will go on. I'm sure tomorrow somebody will come up with another thing. I am even told there's already another court case coming up for Wakili in the course of the week from the opposition. And all this will hear them. But the main thing, and I pray that Kenyans will vote on 8th and this whole game ends.
Nelson, where do you think this is likely to lead us as a country? Mekuro Court's allegations here, claims, it says was absolutely no modalities to count or even estimate how many ballot papers had been printed, and numbers are pertinent, very important in this particular election. And George also brings in the point of, if we have questions about the presidential ballot papers, what about other politicians and the credibility of those papers?
Allow me to debunk the mystery behind judicial process. A judicial process does not entirely mean that whatever factual outcome has come as a result of that process is true or false. No. Courts only act on evidence. A court may make a decision that appears justiciable, but nonetheless is not a correct decision. For instance, you remember about 4 years ago, we saw a policeman in Kisumu during the post-election violence shoot 2 demonstrators. And when the matter went to court, the policeman was set free. Does it mean that somebody was not shot? No, it doesn't mean so. But bearing in mind the judicial process, there is no certainty of evidence to put that particular suspect within the confine of the offense. Now, let's treat the Al Ghuraya contract in that context. The claim here is that there was an incestuous relationship in the manner in which the contract was procured. Now, it was not evidence that was available before the court. That does not translate to bickering on whoever took the claim to court. Because now, with the passage of time, it's becoming quite clear that much as the litigation was going on, the printing of the ballot papers for the presidential election was already taking place. And there is a possibility that the entire circumstances of the case were choreographed to ensure that whatever outcome had been intended initially is met. And that has come to pass. And look, Dr. Accord is not just anybody else. He's not just a warmonger. He's a credible lawyer with substantial learning. He's one of the individuals who participated in the drafting of the Constitution. When he speaks, we must listen to what he says. And I think what he says has a lot of credibility. And look at the circumstantial facts that come together with these statements. It cannot be a coincidence that Ekuro went to Dubai, came across these disclosures. Then at the same time, Raila Odinga comes across high-level intelligence that indicates the transport of cargo in a very clandestine manner to particular destinations. Now, look at it from this point of view. It cannot be a credible argument to say, what about the contest for the governor, the senator, woman rep, and the MP? Look, these seats will be contested for within the environments of the stronghold. Somebody in Jubilee will win in central Kenya. Somebody in NASA will win in western Kenya. He'll win in Luo Nyanza. Of course, the independents also have a greater chance. But the main issue here is the presidential contest. And throughout the disputes in the electoral system in Kenya, the issue has always been on the presidency. Because the executive nature of the Kenyan presidency holds a lot of power. And the possibility of manipulation is not one that is in the room of thought.
All right.
It's a fact of reality.
George and Amunga don't seem to agree. Let's begin with you, George.
Actually, I totally disagree with that, Wakili. Because basically, this election is not about presidential elections only. And if that was the case, then we should have picked people from the villages. Yes. If they are coming from a given village and we say that this is stronghold for ODM, give an ODM candidate the ticket to carry. But we are going as Kenyans, and we are electing people as Kenyans. And we need to see those people elected, not because they come from a given community. So we need them to be elected because they have what it takes to guide our people within that constituency, within that county, within that part of the country that they represent. So it is not about presidents. And if that is the case, then the IBC should tell us they should go consider the presidents only, the presidential elections, and then they consider we apply for these other positions.
All right.
And of course, when you listen to Wakili's argument, you can almost get to know that he's skewed towards some kind of imagination. Because when he talks about, oh, we must listen to court, we must listen to what Raila is saying, he's not telling us we should also listen to what President Uhuru Kenyatta is saying. President Uhuru Kenyatta is the president of this country. And he says this country will go to elections and he wants a peaceful election on 8th. That is also what he's saying. Can we also give him a hearing? Or are we only going to listen to some people who go to gather some rumors from Dubai and come back with them to Nairobi and cause tension in the country? And I agree with you, Mheshimiwa. Let nobody cheat us that this election is about a president only. Kenyans, we must evolve. Let us devolve from the president, looking at everything from the president. That's why we have a new constitution. We are talking about devolved governments. We are talking about the governors. We're talking about the senators. We're talking about women represent MCS. And we are not saying that in Central Province only Jubilee candidates will win. We saw in Nyanza Province where people who are not in ODM won. And right now, there's a hot contest going on in Homa Bay, where we know, and in Siaya, where we have got Hon Gumbo standing on an independent ticket. And he's giving Rasanga, the current governor, a run for his money. And that's what we want. We don't want somebody to claim that this is my territory, this is my area, this is my stronghold. These Kenyans, you are free to choose whom you want and choose the wise leader.
All right.
Well, I think I'll go back to what Mheshimiwa said when he started his presentation. Where did the rain start hitting us? I think when we went for the primary nominations, that's all these problems are coming from from where we started. Now, who's talking the truth now? Because during the nominations, you'll see Jubilee also, they had their own problems.
But they sorted them out.
NASA had their own problems on nominations. So we have problems. We don't trust each other. And you can see what is going on. And if one wants to go there, because everybody was trying to make one for another smarter than the other one. This is what is happening in this country. So we have to make sure that the next election, maybe 2022, we don't go back to what happened in the nomination of the whole country.
Right. George, let's wind up before we take a short break. Your closing comments.
Yes. Yeah, the closing comment is that now we can almost predict that what happens during the primaries was never the right thing. And that's why everyone is complaining. We are yet to hear from the independents. And I don't know whether the media and others are capturing exactly what complaints do the independents have towards this kind of election.
Right.
Because I think that is very key. Because from the government, they're told, let the status quo remain. Let's go for election. It's free and fair. The others are saying there's this and that. But no one is coming clear, giving us direction. And that's why we're saying since IEBC is independent, let them stand independent and let them not wait for rumors, but let them always act and give Kenyans the right direction.
The right way. All right, Amunga, hold that thought. We have to take a short commercial break. You're watching Weekend Express. Just stay with us. Take a short commercial break. When we come back, we delve into a conversation on election preparedness. Just 9 days to the election, with the opposition moving to court for yet again another election preparedness dispute. So we'll be delving into that in just a few moments. Just stay with us. This is Weekend Express.
Thank you.
This is KTN News.
What do elephant paths have to do with conservation? How can a plastic bottle become a paving stone? How do algae make clean air? A good idea can work